The Pacers were expected to be good. The second half of the season, they were one of the hottest teams in all of basketball. The last 3 weeks, I think they only lost 2 games. So we expected this. I did not expect them to roll right through the Cavaliers the way they did, even rolling through the New York Knicks like they did. And that right now, up 2-1 against an OKC Thunder team that won 60-some-odd games this year and was one of the more dominant teams at home we have seen in a very, very long time. They lost the game. OKC lost the first game of the series against Tyrese Halliburton's unbelievable shot with 5 seconds left of the game. And that, I believe, has hurt OKC and their confidence. OKC should have went into Indianapolis up 2-0, and now they're trailing 2-1. You look at the situation where the Pacers are now. The Pacers are definitely in the driver's seat. They have a tremendous talent like Tyrese Halliburton. They're getting offense from all different parts of the court. I mean, like we just said, Mathurin, he has been up and down throughout the last couple of series. There are games that he shows up, and there are games that he's really just considered a rebounder or a guy that they use him as another body, as a 6th or 7th guy off the bench. But he has been sensational. He's added some depth to this lineup. And I'll say this, Obi Toppin, who was supposed to be Mathurin in that game, has been less of a man in this series against OKC. Maybe because OKC is just as athletic as they are, and the athleticism didn't work like it worked with the New York Knicks. Nevertheless, they're getting offense from all different parts of this Pacer team. Even Naismith, who really has been a big factor in their offense throughout the last couple of series, has not really had a good series against OKC. This is a guy that was one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA all season long, and you saw what he did against the Knicks, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in game number 1, and even in game number 2, the way he was shooting. He's not shooting that way in this series, and they're getting, again, offense from places besides Tyrese Halliburton, from other players that are not those type of players. So it's been amazing to watch with the Pacers. I'm not going to take shots at them. I don't like Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think any Knicks fan likes Tyrese Halliburton. But you can't disrespect a person that is one of the more talented long guards we have seen in a very long time. We thought this, and I'll say this. If you remember Lonzo Ball, when he came out of the draft, Lonzo Ball was 6'6", a point guard that could pass. He wasn't as good a shooter as Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton wasn't a good shooter when he came out of the draft. He was a defensive player that could pass the ball and rebound because of his length and his ability to do the things that he does very, very well. He's become a better shooter in the NBA. He's become a better offensive player in the NBA. And you see the talent that he is. Why Sacramento decided to pass up on him and trade him to Indiana, I don't know. I can't question the GM and obviously what Sacramento has done over the years, ruining their team. Yeah. They send Fox to San Antonio for a bag of balls. So I don't get that organization. Nevertheless, could you imagine Sacramento at one point had Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox as their guards. Now, De'Aaron Fox is playing for San Antonio as their starter, and Tyrese Halliburton's the starting point guard for the Indiana Pacers, and right now could win an NBA championship, something the Indiana Pacers have never done. But again, you look at this series, and you kind of wonder, how is it that the Indiana Pacers are out rebounding this OKC Thunder? An OKC Thunder team that has Dart, one of the best big forwards in the NBA right now. He has been sensational all season long. Very good rebounder. You have Hartenstein. We all know what he was with the New York Knicks. When healthy, he adds that grit. He adds that rebounding opportunity off the board. Good offensive rebounder. Good defensive player in the paint. And then the talent that they have, you would have thought OKC Thunder would run through the Indiana Pacers because the Indiana Pacers don't have any secondary players. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody thought that, then you don't know basketball. And I can honestly say, for a person that respects basketball and loves basketball, I didn't really think Indiana had this type of team. I thought they had depth, but I just didn't think they were going to get the offense that they needed from those secondary players to compete with the OKC Thunder. Now, maybe OKC is not playing the way they thought they should be playing in this series. High, fast pace, but that has a lot to do with Rick Carlisle and his coaching. and slowing everything down. You would have thought the way the Pacers like to play, they like to play run and gun. But really, if you've watched this series so far in the first 3 games, I think the Pacers have slowed down the pace. They let the pace go their way. And that's, I think, is the difference of this series. The pace, the speed of these games that you would have thought would have been just so fast and such an offensive series. Now you're watching it, and it really isn't that much of an offensive series. You see an up and down in the series. 116-107 is not an offensive series. No. I mean, we've seen OKC score 130 a couple of times in the playoffs. So you would expect that this series would be a high-scoring series. The way
I think play. it's been one quarter or the other, right? Like, because we've seen
one half of the other.
Quarters. Yeah, but it's been quarters too. But it has
second
been
and fourth quarter were
the
the dominant ones for the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest key, I think, when you look at the defense in those quarters as well. 18 points total. And like you were saying, Errol, no 3-pointers allowed in the entire fourth quarter. They outscored him by double digits in the second quarter. And the bench defense, I think, was even more impressive than the bench offense in that game. Like you said, like they have Mathurin who scored 27 points. Nobody else really did a lot. Obi Toppin 8 points. He did have a lot of rebounds, though, and played good defense. And you look at guys like Nembhard, who's been a threat against the Knicks in the past, too. 8 points in that game. Neesmith, 7.
Nembhard is not a good offensive player. You're seeing a guy that can defend multiple positions, and he was a thorn in Jalen Brunson's ass, and he's been a thorn of Shai Alexander in this series so far, because they've moved the perimeter, the point guards, and the defense on the perimeter on Shai Alexander, and you've seen the difference. It's been really crazy to think that Rick Carlisle, who is a great head coach, he's sensational. He's one of the best defensive minds I've seen in a very long time in the NBA. He reminds me a lot like Pat Riley. Anybody remember Pat Riley when he well, you weren't alive, Speedy, for the Lakers, but with the Knicks.
No, he was with Miami at the end of the series.
But with the Knicks, and the way he built that defense and built that perimeter defense that the Knicks really played with John Starks and even with Charlie Ward. And then they brought in Chris Childs after, obviously, Pat Riley left and Jeff Van Gundy took over. The way he liked to play that defense on the perimeter and press and make the other guys in the inside beat them. Now you're watching what Rick Carlisle's really done. Shai Alexander, the only way he can score points now is getting into the paint and getting beaten up. And that is what they did to the Knicks. That's what they did to Karl Anthony Towns, and that's what they did to Jalen Brunson. And now, ladies and gentlemen, they're doing the same thing to Shai Alexander.
And also
in this series.
Which is basically the comparison to every player you described.
Yes, he does. And he's going to get a raise.
Doesn't he deserve a raise?
He's going to get a raise.
Look at what he's done. Look, that's why they pay this guy, and he should be getting the big bucks soon, even if they don't come through in this series. I can't believe how brilliant it's been on defense by the Pacers. To me, it's about the Pacers' defense. You realize they turned them over 19 times, and this team was a team that averaged 11.7 turnovers per game in the league. Yeah. That's what made them special, is they didn't turn the ball over. They had, I mean, what did Shai have? 6 turnovers?
6 turnovers.
And only 4 assists.
And 4 assists.
I think he's only...
That's defense, bro.
I don't even think he had 6 turnovers in any one of these games throughout the playoffs.
That's as bad as he's ever going to play, right? So they got that game. They got it at home. But it's about the defense, to me, on Chet. It was Miles Turner that they decided to put on Chet. You know, Chet's really kind of the power forward. They ended up not being able to play Hardenstein at all. I don't know what it was about the rotation or the way he's playing or the matchups. They couldn't keep him on the floor. So they ended up having to play kind of a small ball. And now you have Turner on Chet, and Turner's got longer arms than Chet. He doesn't get the size advantage on Turner, and he swatted the shit out of him. And there were a lot of really lazy plays that you just don't see. And we've seen the Pacers do it. I mean, as a Knicks fan, and we watched this series very closely, that series, they did that to, I mean, I would say Brunson had more success at times than what Shai did in this game.